Stowe, Massachusetts, founded in 1683, has a rich collection of surviving historical documents. These annuals record a vivid account of the town's Puritan lineage. There are innuendos of blacks serving in households and family histories. Documentation of a black servant slave was written on March 31, 1777, when Stowe moderator Henry Gardner, of American Revolution fame, recorded after the March 3, 1777 town meeting minutes that Yobel Stone, servant of Joseph Stone, was freed from slavery. Stowe's recorded history of color has been nearly non-existent until August 5, 1926, when the Boston Globe published the article, "Golf Club in Stowe for Colored People." Yes, Stowe's remarkable connection to Black History Month began in 1926, when the Black Mapledale Country Club was established in town. This black golf course has received meager coverage in Stowe's history. The reality is that black golf has required resourcefulness on the part of researchers to locate early stories buried in the archives of black newspapers, such as the Pittsburgh Courier, the Chicago Defender, and the Baltimore Afro-American. It is a tribute to the Boston Globe that articles about Mapledale were published and are easily accessible. The history of black golf dates back to the 1890s. In academia, this has been a well-documented history. One recent study was published January 2018 in the Western Journal of Black Studies, Volume 42, Number 1, 2018. These professors wrote on page 2 of their document that the earliest African American golf clubs sought to develop golf as a sport that would be interwoven into the social fabric of black life at both elite and grassroots levels, and free of barriers to enjoyment and participation for blacks generally, but especially for the most successful African American golfers seeking to pursue the sport as a career. In 1896, a 16-year-old John M. Shippen became the first African American professional golfer when he played at the second U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills Golf Club in New York. Shippen worked the grounds as a teenager at the golf club before becoming a caddy and ultimately an expert golfer. Prior to the start of the tournament, some club members had been so impressed with Shippen's talent for the game that they decided to pay his entry fee for the tournament, along with that of his close friend, Oscar Bunn, a Shinnecock Indian. When the professional golfers threatened to boycott the event, they backed down only after USGA President Theodore Havmeyer stated the tournament would only proceed if Shippen and Dunn took part. Desegregation in golf happened very slowly. The United Golfers Association was organized in 1925, and Mapledale Country Club in Stowe, Massachusetts, became one of the first black-owned and operated golf courses. Land with buildings in Stowe was bought and developed by the visionary Robert Hawkins in February 1926. The Pittsburgh Courier, a black-owned newspaper, paid tribute to Robert Hawkins. In 1926, Hawkins was chiefly responsible for organizing what is now known as the United Golfers Association, Incorporated, sponsored the first of 3 consecutive national golf tournaments for Negroes at Mapledale. As a result of this venture, he became known as the father of Negro golf. Robert Hawkins was born in Adams, Berkshire County, Massachusetts, November 13, 1888, the son of a coachman. At a young age, he caddied at Forest Park Club in Adams, Massachusetts, and learned the game, which is how all black golfers of this era began. In 1902, the Hawkins family moved to Burlington, Vermont, where Robert attended high school and caddied at the Wabanaki Club, rising to caddy master. After high school graduation in 1907, he turned to golf clubhouse work for a livelihood. In this work, he elevated himself to the position of steward of some of the finest country clubs in Vermont. In the 1920s, Robert Hawkins went on to become general manager of Sandy Burr Country Club in Wayland, Mass., the first black to reach that position in New England. At Sandy Burr, he got the idea of owning his own country club for Negroes. In 1926, Hawkins bought the Dr. John W. Randall estate in Stowe for $10,000 from George J. Wilson, which was 160 acres with a large 20-room mansion about 25 miles outside of Boston in Stowe, Mass. On it, he built a 9-hole golf course and provided facilities for horseback riding, tennis, and winter sports, and the place became known as Mapledale Country Club. Two black Washington, D.C. doctors, Dr. George Adams and Dr. Albert Harris, who enjoyed golfing in New England, lent their assistance in the organization of the first 3 Negro National Open Championships to be held at Mapledale in 1926, 1927, and 1928. Mapledale was a 9-hole course in August 1926. Ralph Thomas, professional at Sandy Burr, laid out the links for additional 9 holes to be started in the spring of 1927. The August 5, 1926, correspondent in the Boston Globe wrote that the main building at Mapledale is of the colonial type. There are 18 rooms in the structure, and it is being rapidly transformed into a home fitted modernly. There is at present to be completed the large dancing room and some minor details in lighting and plumbing. Also, the men's locker room in a separate building will not be ready for probably another week. There are rooms where the people may spend a day, a week, or weeks during vacation periods, where they may have practically all the enjoyments of other real golf clubs and country clubs, and at very reasonable rates. The maximum fee for membership was $25 and the minimum $15. When the proposition is in full swing, there will be, in addition to golf, tennis, trap and gallery shooting, croquet, and horseback riding for summer sports, as well as the winter enjoyments, for Mapledale will be an all-year-round proposition. The 1926 Labor Day Negro National Open Championships featured 35 players, including the renowned Walter Speedy, Chicago's first champion black golfer, who had begun the movement to organize golf clubs for African American players for social contacts and interactions and for the safety in numbers. The Mapledale's 1927 Labor Day tournament featured Chicago's Robert Paul, Washington, D.C.'s John Shipman, Sr. and Jr., and Stowe's Robert Hawkins, among many from around the country. This was a 72-hole tournament, 36 holes on Sunday and 36 holes on Monday. The tournament culminated in a ball the evening of September 5, 1927. Mapledale's 1928 Labor Day Negro National Open Championship featured Meet the Pros. This 18-hole exhibition match would be George Albach, NEPGA champion, and Black Curly, Stony Brow Pro from Newton, against Robert P. Ball, the National Colored Open champion, and Porter W. Washington, pro at Mapledale. This would be the first time in the history of golf that local fans would have an opportunity to see 2 of New England's finest golfers matched against 2 crack Negro players. Further information about this 1928 tournament was located on page 62 of Calvin H. Sennett's book, Forbidden Fairways, African Americans, and the Game of Golf. Here he wrote, a total of $300 in prize money was awarded, and the top professional received $100. At the conclusion of the event, there was an elaborate program and dinner dance, and prizes awarded for the longest drive, best dressed golfer, and the owner of the best looking set of clubs. Mapledale's Porter Washington led the field of colored golfers in the 1928 semifinals. This would be the final tournament held at Mapledale. Robert Hawkins' vision, for which he had spent $25,000 in personal savings and borrowed over $5,000, ended with the Depression. On October 3, 1931, the Boston Globe listed those in financial difficulties. Included was Robert H. Hawkins. The South Middlesex Registry of Deeds in Cambridge, Massachusetts, recorded 26 deeds between February 27, 1926, and October 6, 1930, where Robert Hawkins had used private investors to fund his payments and improve the property. On October 6, 1930, there was a foreclosure public auction where Cecilia D. Mayer bought the property for $5,000. It had been advertised in the Stowe News Enterprise on the 12th, 19th, and 26th of September. This four-page deed noted that the conveyance included all livestock, which consisted of 2 horses, 4 cows, and 2 calves, all poultry, crops, hay in barns, wagons, and all farming implements, all furnaces, heaters, ranges, mantles, gas and electric fixtures, screens, screen doors, awnings, all furniture, linen and furnishings, dishes, accepting and reserving 1 piano, 1 radio set, and all bed linen which belonged to my wife. Subject, however, to any personal property lease which may be held by Hawkins Furniture Company on household furniture and lease held by Oliver Briggs on pool table. On November 14th, 1930, Cecilia D. Mayer sold the property to Grace P. Sweeter, who sold it to Charles M. Cox on November 15th, 1930. Here began the era of Stowe Acres Country Club. On August 20th, 1941, the Boston Globe's correspondent attended the 16th Annual Negro National Golf Tournament played at the Ponkapoag Golf Course in Canton, Mass. For many of 150 players from across the United States who crowded into the clubhouse, this day's driving rainstorm was their first experience of New England weather. Porter Washington, Mapledale's former pro, and Chicago Walter Speedy was among those in the clubhouse. Walter Speedy admitted it was Bob Hawkins' idea. He kept writing me in Chicago about a tournament, and finally I agreed to bring some players to Mapledale from my club in Chicago. 7 came with me, and there were 31 players in all at Mapledale in 1926.